Hi, everyone. Welcome to another week of the Remodeling Unscripted podcast. This week, I'm going to give you a slightly different perspective than the perspective you hear from me all the time about what happens during remodeling projects. I have a client who's one of our favorites that we have done a large project for, and I want you to get perspective from her about the types of things that she thought about as she experienced the project. It's a totally different perspective than mine because she's living through it, and I'm going to ask her questions about how she made decisions and how she survived the process. And we're just going to talk and have a down-to-earth conversation about things to think about, and hopefully you'll walk away from this with some ideas that better prepare you if you engage in a remodeling project. So with that, let's jump in, and I'm just going to start by asking you, when you began this process, you started with an interior designer, correct?
Right.
And that designer recommended you to us.
That's right.
And before you ever met us, how much time and how deep were you into the process, if you remember? It's been a while ago.
We were several months in,
Okay.
not with the designer, but trying to find the design help that we wanted so that we could get the project finished the way that we wanted it to. So I'd say maybe we were several months in.
Yeah, and in your particular project, there were things that were going on at your house at the time that were kind of getting it to a place where we could come in and do our part. So you were already thinking for months ahead about what your steps were going to be when we came in, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have a very clear vision, or were you relying on, because your designer was outstanding, so were you relying on your designer's vision and that's what attracted you to the designer?
It was a combination.
Okay.
My husband and I both kind of knew what we were after,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to take what we were leaving because we're pretty traditional, and
Yeah.
then just step it up to the next level. And so that's why we needed the design help. And we had some ideas from some of our favorite spaces that we wanted to incorporate. But really, we wanted to make sure that it felt like us, that it felt like our home. So we were coming at it with a lot of different preferences and opinions.
So one of the things I want to ask you right up front is, a lot of times when we're interacting with clients, husbands and wives have different perspectives. Did you guys have different, did you guys align offline, so to speak, and like you would get an idea and then you talk through it and then you would...
Right. For the most part, there were a few things that were surprises that my husband said, I really want this. And I thought, I don't know if that's necessary, but if that's really important to you, that's fine. And
so the give and take was definitely there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Your interactions and communication with the designer, I know as it related to us, once we got in the project, we tended to have more interaction with you. Was that the case early on in the design as well? And you would just take things back to him, or did you guys tag team it early?
With my husband?
Yeah.
We were in constant communication.
Okay.
Our life almost felt like it was put on hold because the project was so big.
Yes.
That it was on the daily we were making decisions and making them together. Sometimes I would have to just jump in and make the big ones on my own if he wasn't available. But we were on the same page.
So one of the things I remember about the beginning of your project is that you weren't living in the space at the time that we started, and you were gonna be a little bit more delayed, but then you moved in earlier than we thought. I remember that. Maybe not in your perspective. You lived through it. I guess what I'm gonna say is you have a big project that you lived through. And when I say lived through, I mean you literally lived through, because there was not a lot of your home that wasn't being touched at that time in phase 1, which we're going to talk about phase 2 in a minute. But right, so when you think back, knowing what you know now, like, how did you survive it?
Well, I think first of all, I will just say that it wasn't something new to us. We had a situation where we had a big flood in our home and had to live through that. And then early on, we had some big remodel projects that we just took on ourselves. And so we kind of knew what we were in for, but it's always a shock, when you get into a project like that and you can't hide from the dust, and the schedules are a little bit different. But it really went well with this team.
Yeah. So when you were choosing us, I know you got recommended to us. Was it something where you got comfortable right away, or it was trust was earned over time, or it was, hey, she likes these guys, let's work with them? Like, what was your thinking to get to us to say you guys are the right ones to work with?
I had done a lot of research on the designer.
Okay.
And she wasn't the first one I talked with, so I talked with some other designers too. So I think the trust was really established early on through the help of the designer, right? Her recommendation. So that helped. And then we looked up you guys and researched you and felt very comfortable. And then after we talked, we knew we were going in the right direction.
No, I may regret asking this, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's unscripted. Did we do anything different during the process that we portrayed to you that we were going to do at the beginning? From a relationship perspective or just a caring perspective or any of those things? Did anything jump out at you?
No.
Yeah, because I think that's really hard. It's easy enough for me to say it, right?
Right.
It's easy for me to say to somebody, listen, we're good people. We sincerely care. We're going to do what's right. We're going to take care of you. If we make a mistake, we're going to make it right. It's easy to say that. It's not easy for somebody to know that if they've only known you for 20 minutes, right? But we were with you for months and months.
Yes.
Lot, right? And then and this is where I want to go next, you decided to add a phase 2 in the midst of it. Were you just thinking, we're in it, and then let's just go ahead and add the other piece?
At that point, we just figured we're in it this far. Let's just get it finished because we don't want to go through this again. We want to just move on. Because when you go through a remodeling project of this scale and live through it, it really does. It is pretty all-consuming, and you're just excited to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Did it turn out like you thought?
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, I think
it's phenomenal.
Exceeded our expectations.
Good. That's good. Do you think when you're living through it? I always think about cleanup and I always tell our guys, if you have to stop at the end of a day an hour early to do it so we can give people their life, do that, whatever. And so in your case, Ben and Jared and the guys that were here, no matter what, I tell people, we could do everything that we could possibly do, but there's going to be a thin layer of dust that goes everywhere. Is that experience for you?
Well, you can't avoid that, period.
Yeah.
And even with no remodeling project, you can't avoid the dust.
Well, that's true, too.
But I think the guys were so conscientious the whole way through. And there were even nights where I'm like, guys, it's fine, really, leave it, go ahead. But I know that Jared just really wanted to make sure that everything was as clean as it could be. And we appreciated that. We really did. It was a lot of effort on his end, and it just showed just the heart of the team, I think.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make the process as easy on us as they could. And that's what Jared would say. He's like, we just want to get it as clean as we can so that you can, enjoy your evening. And
have your weekend or
have
whatever.
Your weekend, that's right, whatever it was.
Were there any surprises that now looking back on it, that you're struck by, something that surprised you that maybe you didn't know? Because you said you'd done projects on your own, which in my mind makes me think that you kind of hired some people to do the things and you oversaw it a little bit more. Is that true? Or did you sub it out to or did you work with a company like us?
Well, initially, in the very beginning, we've gone through all.
You've done all different types of projects.
All different types of projects, yes, for sure. So, but I would say the more recent ones prior to this big one that we just subbed out to you.
Yeah,
we oversaw.
You oversaw many of them. Yeah. So, did anything surprise you by turning it loose to us?
I really appreciated the subs that you guys brought in. Sometimes you just don't know how that's going to end up, but I just really, and as time went on, it's like I was prepared for the worst, but I got the best.
Yeah.
So as time went on, I just didn't even have to worry about, what are the flooring people going to be like, or different.
Are they going to take care of my things? And
and I think the way that the project was handled and managed was really well done.
What would you tell people about our company that they might not know, if there's anything? Like in choosing us, you've hit on a few things that are important. I mean, I always try to use the analogy of my daughters. I wouldn't want to put somebody in your house that I wouldn't put in my own home with my daughters at home by themselves, right? Like just the people and the process piece. Is there anything else, or even just related to a project, that as you're thinking about doing a large project, what would you advise people to think about?
Well, so to answer the first part of that question, I would say that I could recommend this team without hesitation. I know that having spent so much time with Ben and the guys,
Yeah.
I didn't even have to worry when I was leaving, or because they're here all the time. I didn't have to worry about anything. They handled so much and really put my mind at ease. So I would say you're going to take good care of your clients.
Yeah.
And then as far as, what was your other question?
Yeah, just in doing a remodel, if you could give somebody some advice as they're preparing to take on a project, like what types of things would you have them think about?
And it depends on the scale and the scope. If
Sure.
it's like the one that we took on, if they've never been through something like that, I would encourage them to maybe move out.
I'm glad you said it. I'm very glad you said it, because we would never tell somebody they have to move out. But your quality of life is better when everything is touched if you're not there, right?
Right.
I mean, did you come to love your trips away when you could get away for a little bit?
Well, there were some times I just needed to get away to get some things accomplished,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to be in the guy's
Yeah.
space, and I just wanted to make sure that they had the run of the house so that there could be as much progress as there could be.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it's a project, and there are always going to be some unexpected things that come up, and that's just part of life. And
Yep.
so just being able to roll with it and know it's going to get all sorted out. I mean, there wasn't anything that there wasn't a solution for, and it just turned out so well. So
I think that's actually a really interesting point to even end on, because the trust is earned, right? It's not just, you don't just walk in and get anointed with it. You earn it by the way that you carry yourself over a period of time. And when you get to a point where hey, we had this issue, but we'll take care of it, then it's like the blood pressure goes down. You can just take a breath and go, okay, well, we'll just roll with this one too, and we'll figure it out. And then we figure it out.
Right.
And that's what it is. And then, so the relationship, to me, I always try to get across to even potential clients, the relationship is incredibly important, because that's what you fall back to when there's a challenge. And nobody wants to be miserable.
Yeah.
It's already miserable to live through. You don't want to have a contentious relationship, right?
Right.
Which is why I wanted to talk to you, because your project was of a size where people, no matter how much you like us, you're ready for us to go away, right? It doesn't matter how much you like us if you just want your life back. And that's understandable on all parts or all parties, right? And so I think I just think that's an important piece to say. It's okay to want to get done and get your life back too. We understand that. We like wrapping them up as much as
Oh, sure.
people want to get them done.
Yeah, you always want closure when there's a project, and and you're ready to move on and tackle the next challenge. But I think that working with the team, it was really, for the scale of this project, it really was pretty smooth.
I agree.
It really was. And you did say at the beginning, we'll be there a lot, but you'll miss the guys when they're gone.
Yep.
That's
And it's true, right?
That's
They're
true.
like your long lost sons that aren't around every day
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. Those are the relationships we love.
Yeah.
And so, and I know that as a result of that, you'll say, hey, somebody should call us or talk to us or whatever, and you refer us, and those things are really appreciated. I know. So I want you to know that. But anything else you would say to anybody, given a thought to any kind of remodeling project?
Well, I would definitely encourage them to give you a call.
I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Your vision for how this turned out was phenomenal, and I know that it does take a team, and so you have a team of
Absolutely.
really good interior designers that have great vision, but it's got to have your heart and your feel, and your money as part of that project as well, right? And then,
Sure.
we just come in and kind of execute and try to deliver that vision at the end. But I think it turned out wonderfully, and you guys are wonderful people, and those are the things that I really like about what we get to do is getting to know people like you guys. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And we appreciate working with you too.
Oh,
It's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Thanks.